Have you experienced waiting for someone or waiting for something? Sometimes it's nerve-wracking, and other times it is irritating. If you're waiting for the results, for example, of a biopsy, it is really frightening. But if you're waiting for the bus, or if you're waiting for the train to come, or if you are stuck in the traffic waiting for the car to move, it's really exasperating, right? So, why is it hard to wait sometimes? Why is waiting hard to do? Well, it is because waiting means you are getting out of control of a situation. You lose control. And in life, we always wanted to be in control, right? And so waiting for something or waiting for someone is the hardest thing to do because we are like getting out of, we don't have control. We wait and wait and wait. It's not easy to wait. How about you today? Are you in a situation of waiting for something or for someone? Are you waiting for your significant other to propose? Are you waiting for your kids to grow up so you can be free of taking care of them? Or you're probably waiting for your luck to get out of financial problem? Or are you waiting for your sickly parent to finally rest from from her pain? Are you waiting for a prospective employer for a job interview? Or are you waiting for God to take away the pain in your body that you have been experiencing? Or are you waiting for God to come to finally end the suffering and death in this world? What should we do while we are waiting for the end? Well, in the Bible, there was a person who was waiting for the end to come. He was waiting for the end of their exile. He was waiting for the time when he can return to his homeland. The Bible did not tell the exact date and month of his birth, but he was born probably in or around the year 622 BC. It was a good time to be born. It was one of the greatest revivals or spiritual revivals in the history of God's people. And this was prompted by the religious reform which was led by a young king named Josiah. Do you remember King Josiah? A high point in this revival was the discovery of the scroll of Moses in the temple in Jerusalem. And this book had been forgotten for long centuries. But its reading before the king, Josiah, took place in that very year when this person was born, which is 622 BC. And you can read in 2 Chronicles chapter 34, verses 19 to 21. 2 Chronicles 34, verses 19 to 21. That when the king heard the words of the law, he tore his robes. And he gave these orders. Go and inquire of the Lord for me and for the remnant in Israel and Judah about what is written in this book that has been found. Great is the Lord's anger that is poured out on us because those who have gone before us have not kept the word of the Lord. They have not acted in accordance with all that is written in this book. Those are the words of King Josiah. And so because of that, there was a great spiritual revival in the kingdom of Judah. And God loved Josiah And he looked at his humble heart. And he sent a message of hope to him through his prophets. And God promised that King Josiah's eyes would not see the coming disaster, since he will die in peace. And so peace was promised for a time. But there were no doubt God's judgment were to come. And it was in this context that his parents named their newborn son Daniel, which means God is my judge. You see, the word judge in the Bible is positive for those who are on God's side. Judgment, or the word judge, is not something that we should be afraid of. It is a very positive idea, especially for those who are on God's side. Daniel's parents, through his name, express their trust in the Lord, whose mercies are renewed every morning. But when Daniel was still a teenager, the young king, Josiah, lost his life for a reason difficult to understand. And this happened in the year 608 BC in the Battle of Haran, as the Egyptian Pharaoh Necho crossed the territory of the Syro-Palestine. And from the plains of Megiddo, King Josiah's body was brought to Jerusalem, where he died, leaving the whole nation in sorrow and grief. And the whole nation mourned a lot for this much-loved king. And so Prophet Jeremiah, at the time, composed a lament for the dead king. And the feeling of fear and uncertainty was felt everywhere in the kingdom. And only a few years later, in 605 BC, the Babylonian army came, took Jerusalem, removed the holy vessels in the temple, and brought it to Babylon, to the temple in Babylon. And the nobles were deported to Babylon. And so you can see the tragedies, these tragedies shook young Daniel and left him pondering with two questions in mind. What will happen to my people? God's chosen people. Will God abandon his people? Will he be angry with us forever? Those are the questions of Daniel. And the second question that he had, what will happen to this world? Can the world go on like this without God's presence in it? Can the world remain separated from God? But you know, God didn't leave Daniel in darkness as to what will happen to his people and the world. God has spoken through his prophets to reveal his plans. And as surely as Judea's kingdom came to an end, so Babylon would come to its end too. As surely as the temple was emptied of God's glory, so will the world someday become empty of its people and nature. One end had come, another greater end was yet to come. You see, since Daniel belonged to a noble Judean family, he too was led into exile. And among the people that were exiled to Babylon, there were three distinguished groups. And the first group spent much time sitting and weeping as they remembered Zion, as they remembered Jerusalem. In Psalm 137, verse 1, we read about that experience. Psalm 137, verse 1. It reads, "By the rivers of Babylon, we sat and wept when we remembered Zion." This is the first group. We can call this group the weepers. Now, there was a second group. When tragedy happens, It gives rise to false prophets who play on fear. And these prophets are very capable of making profits. People who followed them speculated that Babylon's fall was imminent. And we can call the second group of people the speculators, because they were calculating the time of Babylon's end. If you're going to read Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, they said that the city, the exile will be shorter. They also mentioned, these false prophets mentioned how the city could be overthrown, the city of Babylon. But these are false prophets. They're totally different from the prophecy of prophet Jeremiah. So we can call this group the speculators. There was a third group, and it was led by true prophets. They turned to God and His words, and we can call them God's witnesses. Prophet Jeremiah wrote a letter to this group, and the message of his letter made a great impact on Daniel. And I would like to read some verses from this letter. It is found in Jeremiah 29, verses 4 through 14. Jeremiah 29, verses 4 through 14. This passage is a little lengthier, but I hope you will not mind, because it is very precious to Daniel, and I'm sure very applicable to us as well. Jeremiah 29, verse 4 to 14. And I will be reading from the New International Version. Jeremiah 29, verse 4 to verse 14. This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says to all those I carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there, do not decrease. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Yes, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Do not let the prophets and diviners among you deceive you. Do not listen to the dreams you encourage them to have. They are prophesying lies to you in my name. I have not sent them, declares the Lord. This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I have banished you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile. What a beautiful letter of Prophet Jeremiah to those people living in exile in Babylon. And these people who received this message of Prophet Jeremiah receive it with joy. And they decided not to weep, not to speculate, but to settle down, to witness. You see, God's instruction to His people was very clear in this letter of Jeremiah. Jeremiah was telling them, we should not weep. nor should we speculate, but we should trust God and keep busy, settle down in the city of Babylon. You see, for years, God's people in Israel made pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And as they approached the city, they prayed for its peace, prayed for the peace of Jerusalem. And you know the meaning of Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem. It's the city of peace. It's a place of peace. Now, Prophet Jeremiah was instructing the people of God who are living in Babylon. And he was telling them, you have to learn a new prayer this time. Before you have been praying for the peace of Jerusalem, but this time, Prophet Jeremiah said, pray for the peace of Babylon. What a radical kind of prayer. Prophet Jeremiah was asking, pleading, the people of God, pray for the city of your enemy? Come on. But that's the message of God's to Prophet Jeremiah and to his people. Because Jeremiah said, if the city prospers, if you pray for the city of Babylon, and if the city of Babylon prospers, you too will prosper. But this was a strange message. And this was an impossible prayer. Pray for the city of your enemy. But that's what God's message was. And that's why the false prophets accused Prophet Jeremiah of being a traitor. But for Daniel, he was not. He prophesied the fall of Babylon. And in fact, he called God's people out of it. Jeremiah knew that Babylon would certainly come to its end, but in God's time. But before Babylon falls, there was a work for God's people to do. And so Daniel trusted this message given by God through Prophet Jeremiah. And you see, Daniel purposed in his heart to witness for God. Babylon for him was not just the land of the enemy for God's people. For Daniel, Babylon was his mission field. Daniel prayed for that city, and he witnessed in it. And he was a living testimony to the powerful king of Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar. And in spite of the tragedies that happened in the life of Daniel, he decided to turn those into good. In spite of the fact that he was exiled and living in a foreign land, he made a decision to be used by God to be a missionary in that land. He learned the language of Babylon. He learned the culture of Babylon. He settled down in Babylon. Not because he likes the city of Babylon. Of course, he misses his homeland, the city of Jerusalem. But God brought him there because God has a purpose why he was there. And he decided to be a witness in the city of Babylon, the city of his enemy. What about us today? Can the book of Daniel speak to us today? Yes, if we will allow the book to do so. Now, wouldn't we say that our times are similar to Daniel? You see, tragedies around us are increasing. The enemy is busier than ever, destroying human lives. The end is coming, isn't it? But the harvest is plenty. Now, which group would you like to join while we are waiting for the end? Would you like to join the group of the weepers? Those who sit down and weep when they remember the joys of Zion? Or maybe would you like to join the group of those speculators, spending too much time calculating times and probably telling us, oh, Jesus will come on this particular day and time? Or would you like to be a witness for God in the world that is around you? Friends, brothers and sisters, we are in Babylon, aren't we? Have we noticed how often we face hostilities in life? You may probably experience this is not our home. We're living in a foreign land. We are just passing through. We are pilgrims in this world. And then there are those false religions. During the time of Daniel and even today, they make many claims and many promises, but then they cannot live up to those promises. There are sins in this world that are increasing, and there are people who have a very negative attitude towards God. And indeed, we are in Babylon. Wouldn't you say, we are not of Babylon? And that is true. We are in Babylon, but we are not of Babylon. We are in the world, but we are not of the world. Many people in this world are dying, and they need to be saved. They need to be snatched from the snares of eternal death. And so the question is, can you leave them in the city of destruction? How can you accomplish this great task in a short time? Friends, be like Daniel. Trust in God and trust His Word. Decide to witness for God, just like Daniel. Serve and minister to the people around us. Serve and minister to the people near us. That's what it means to live in Babylon. Just like Daniel. We are in Babylon. We are in exile. This is not our home. Just like Daniel, we are living in a foreign land. And we are waiting for the soon return of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to bring us to our real home. We are waiting for His soon return to end the suffering and pain in this world. Alfred Robert Tucker was born in 1849 and grew up in the Lake District in England. And following in the footsteps of his family, he became an artist, exhibiting at the Royal Academy. And one day, Tucker was painting a picture of a poor woman, thinly clad, pressing a babe to her bosom, wandering homeless on a stormy night on the dark, deserted street. And as the picture grew, Tucker, the artist, suddenly threw down his brush, exclaiming, "Instead of merely painting the lost, I will go out and save them." In 1890, he was sent out to Africa as missionary and became the Bishop of Uganda until 1908. And in 1913, a year before Bishop Tucker's death, Uganda's first theological college was named after him, called Bishop Tucker Theological College. Friends, this potential artist decided to renounce his profession and decided to become a missionary in Africa because he is tired of this world. He's tired of painting the suffering and the pain of this world. And he wanted to get involved and alleviate and be part of alleviating the suffering and the pain of this world. Indeed, we are living in the dark and evil world where many people are suffering, where many people are lost and need of our care and love. And while we are waiting for the end to come, be like Daniel. Let us purpose in our heart to witness for God and for the work of the salvation of others. So I want to call my family with me here in front, my wife and Samantha. My other daughters, Lindsay, is in Southwestern Adventist studying. And so that is why, as a pastor, together with my family, it is our joy and privilege to work for God for the salvation of others, especially here in McAllen, All Nations Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I wish I could continue serving this loving and caring church for many years, but a new call to serve other country in another capacity came. My wife, my children, and I prayed about it over several days, and the impression we got after much prayer and thinking was to accept the call. So I just want to say to you all, I will be stepping down as a pastor of All Nations Seventh-day Adventist Church in the month of June to serve in Canada. I'm announcing this ahead of time so the church can have an adequate time to find a replacement for me. Thus, there will be a smooth transition and there will be no gap of days or months between me and the new pastor who will be chosen to serve this church. So with just 8 months that we are here in this welcoming, caring, and loving church, we gain friends and family. And so thank you for all your love. We will cherish all those wonderful memories for the rest of our lives. And we will surely miss you all. But for the time being, as a church, be like Daniel, who chose to witness for God and work for the salvation of others. God bless you.